like to talk to you a little bit about something that we teach here and that is used in the industry a lot. It is called Mise En Place.
Mise en place refers to the preparation and assembly of ingredients, pans, utensils, equipment, or serving pieces needed for a particular dish or service. Mise en place solves two basic problems facing the chef. Number one, there is too much work to do in a kitchen to leave everything until the last minute. Some work must be done ahead of time. Number two, most foods are at their best quality immediately after preparation. They deteriorate as they are held, and they begin to lose their nutritional value. Mise en place solves these problems by allowing the chef to plan ahead and prepare the items which they will need for their dishes.
Mise en place is a French statement that means to put in place. The first step is to read the recipe all the way through. Second step is to establish your needs, and those needs are your equipment needs and your ingredient needs. Step 3 is to gather your equipment. Step 4 is to gather your grocery items. Step 5 is prepare your workstation. Step 6, pre-prepare all the food that can be prepared, label, date, and refrigerate. Step 7 is to balance your speed and your safety. Remember, speed is important in being efficient, but not so fast that you need to injure yourself. Number 8, the final step is to remember your sanitation and safety. You're keeping yourself and your customer healthy and safe. The very first thing that you need to remember to do is to read your recipe all the way through, from start to finish, including the ingredients, before you do anything else. So I have read all of my ingredients and I've read all of my instructions. Not to say that I won't read it again. I will read it over and over, but this will help me understand about what is going to be needed. One of the biggest reasons that we like to do this is because we like to make a grocery list. You look at the things and you need to determine what you have on hand already, grocery-wise, or what you might need to go to the grocery store and purchase. So this will help us make our grocery list. This will also help us make an equipment list. So we'll look and read all 3 of the instructions and decide what type of equipment we'll need. Are we going to need a bowl? Are we going to need cheesecloth? Are we going to need measuring spoons and measuring cups and saute pans and that kind of thing? So mise en place is something that we use so that we stay as organized as possible. If you will look at the things that I have on my table right here, I have already mise en place my recipe. I have equipment that I need. I have my saute pan on the stove behind me, but I also have these things already cut and already measured out. So for example, I decided to alter my recipe just slightly, and I wanted to add sliced leeks to it. So I went ahead and cut up my leeks. They're ready to go. Literally, all I have to do is dump them in when I'm ready to use them. Okay? Same goes for my black pepper. I've already measured it. It asks for 1/4 of a teaspoon, and so I measured 1/4 of a teaspoon, and I put it in what we call a portion cup, so that all I have to do is dump it in when I'm ready to use it. I haven't cracked my eggs open. My preference is, if you're going to mise en place the day before, not to crack your eggs open. But I believe you can. It's just I choose not to. I got out the amount of eggs that I needed. I just haven't cracked them open yet. I even have my garnish ready to go. I have my garnish over here. I got what I needed out, and it's ready to be used as soon as I'm ready to use it. I needed to grate onion. So I had yellow onion that I grated. I used a cheese grater, and I grated my onion. Okay. The other thing that I needed to grate was some potato, because I'm making potato latkes. It's like a potato pancake, and this one's going to have onion and leek and a little bit of dill in it. The first thing I need to do for this recipe now is I need to get all of the potato out of this water, and I need to put it into this cheesecloth and squeeze the water out. Just going to wrap it. I guess I'll put a little bit more. Cheesecloth is helping me straight out the water. I used this yesterday when I grated my onion to get all the extra moisture out of my onion. Okay, done with these two. Now I can add my other stuff. Okay, I'm going to break up my potato. I'm going to add my onion. Add my wheat. Also, I'm going to add my chopped up dill. Dill's a pretty strong bean herb, so it doesn't take a lot. One thing about these potato latkes is they can be used as the base for a lot of different things. You can put just sour cream on them. You can do a mixture of cream cheese and sour cream. You can make a dill cream. You can make some kind of mousse. Really, we're going to do a salmon mousse later with these. Okay, now I'm going to add my quarter of a teaspoon of pepper. It also asks me for 2 teaspoons of baking powder, so I have 2 teaspoons of baking powder. It asks me for 3.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, so I didn't measure that out because I just wanted to show you. 1, 2, 3.5. Okay, and my eggs. Now, before I mix all this together, because I want to use my hands, I'm going to go wash my hands because I've touched eggshells and all other types of equipment. So I will be right back. Okay, so now I'm going to mix these together and decide that if I need to add a little bit of flour to them, okay? That's going to be a yes. I need to add flour. I want to make sure that I get that egg mixed really, really well. And I'm going to go wash my hands one more time because I want to add some flour. Okay, hands are washed again, and I decided that I need a little bit of flour in this mixture. I believe that it's a little loose, and if you mix flour and some type of liquid, it becomes pasty. And so I would like to add a little bit of flour at a time until it gets to the consistency I like, and I know that when I put it in the hot oil, it'll stick together, okay? We don't want to overdo it, so we're just going to add a little bit at a time. Something to mix it with. Okay, now I'm going to heat up my oil in a saute pan. And the oil, I want it to reach about midway up the side of the potato pancake. And then we're going to do what we call a pan fry. And I'm going to stop with the flour right there. And I'm going to do one and see if it sticks together. And if it does, then I know I'm good. If it doesn't, then I know I can come back and add more flour to it. Things don't have to work 100% the very first time you try them. Okay. I'm just going to do one to test it. Make sure it stays together. Now, this cooking technique is the pan fry. And the reason why it's called that is obviously we're using a pan, but the fat is going halfway up the product and it'll cook the bottom half and then we'll flip it over to cook the top half. See what it looks like on this other side. I think it's working. This is good news. Stand together. You want them to be nice and flat because this is going to be a vehicle for another type of product that's going to go on top of it. In our case, it's going to have a salmon mousse on it. Now that I know they're going to stay, keep this middle in. You don't want to overcook. I have a pan here with paper towel that I'm going to put it on to help drain some of the fat. Using the slope of the pan to help me turn them over so that I don't splatter the hot oil. Things to keep in mind when working with hot oil like this would be to watch your temperature because all oils have a smoke point. And the smoke point literally is the point in which the heat is making the oil hot. It gets to a point where it's smoking, and you don't want that to happen. You don't want smoke. It could potentially give you a smoky flavor, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Not the kind of smoky flavor this is talking about. And it can start to burn your product. Keep an eye on the heat, and you'll have to possibly keep turning it up and down. Because when you're doing this, you don't have a thermometer in here that's regulating those temperatures. The reason I'm using a scoop like this is I'm trying to maintain portion control which means that hopefully they'll all be the same size or they'll all weigh the same. A couple of options for cooking these, not necessarily better options, but there are other options. You can shape these already into flat pancakes and put them in a deep fryer. Another option might be baking them, but because of what it's made of, I believe that it needs the oil to seal the outside and make that crispiness. Not necessarily the healthier option. That would obviously be baking. Deep frying is good because most deep fryers have a thermostat and they can keep a consistent temperature. But as long as you're not trying to do too many at one time, then we should be fine. I think this one's done. Okay, these are now finished. I believe that you can par cook these, and you'll be good if you want to use them for something else. You can always pop them in the oven at this point now to heat them back up. You might cook them a little less if you're gonna choose that option because they're just gonna get browner. But that is something that can be done ahead of time. So if you're gonna use them for putting something else on top, like I discussed earlier, a mousse or some kind of cream or something, then you can do them ahead of time. Especially if you're gonna do a large amount for a party or something like that.